Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Housing Solutions of New York's podcast, One Step Away. I am your host, Dr. Xellex Rivera, also known as Dr. X. I'm really excited, even though I feel like I'm excited for every episode because I have such a good time between. I want to shout out my team in the background that does the producing and all that kind of stuff. We have a great time doing this. But the reason why today's episode is going to be so much fun and exciting is because working in nonprofit, you realize that you don't get to talk to your boss at this level. And today I get to interview my boss, the CEO, Mr. Seth Muraskin. Seth, you there?
I'm here. Thank you. Thanks for having me on the podcast, One Step Away. This is absolutely great. So appreciate it.
I'm excited. Just to give real context, I went on vacation last year because I go on vacation every August, and then I came back. And Seth, on a call, we was doing our regular check-ins, and then out of nowhere, he said, "Yeah, because Dr. X is going to do a podcast," and I was like, "What?" And look at us here, almost a year in.
Right?
I believe we're in season 2 or 3, but we're having such a great time. Thank you so much, Seth, for joining us.
No, thank
But
you.
today
And I
we're
will say that I'm sorry, and
no.
and listening and watching the podcast that you've done thus far. Thank you.
Absolutely. So I thank you for the opportunity because you allow emerging nonprofit leaders like myself into this space. But today we're going to dig into like who you are, what you do. We're going to like remove you a little bit from the CEO role and try to get to know you. So Seth, tell us a little bit about yourself, or tell us a lot about yourself, and then how you got here. Like, how did you get to where you were in the nonprofit space and now be the CEO of Housing Solutions?
So in terms of the nonprofit space, I started in 2020 at another provider doing the same, a similar thing, a little bit bigger. They got themselves into a little bit of a thing, and ended up sort of winding that down. The person who was sort of running that said, "You know something, I'm doing something else here." We were at our predecessor, Bronx Housing Network. I'd like to bring you over. So I came over with him. He then became commissioner of OTDA, and then I became acting CEO and then CEO. So in terms of being here, I've been here close to almost 5 years in terms of what I've been doing in the capacity of coming on first as chief admin officer and then acting and then permanent CEO. But in terms of my nonprofit experiences, it goes back to 2020. Prior to that, for the about a good dozen and a half years before that, I was in the private side of the world, in the corporate world, one in a family office, and then at a global healthcare company that had its American presence. So I've been doing a bunch of things the last 15, 20 years or so to get to this point. I will say that in terms of, where allegiances lie, at one point a long time ago, I was on the payroll of the NYCLU, which is the New York Civil Liberties Union. So this actually, in terms of being a nonprofit space and doing the work that we're doing here at the HSNY, this is something close to my heart. I've done this before. And it's good that I'm able to do this, and great that I'm part of HSNY. So
Yeah, we're excited to have you, and I've been right behind you at the. I'm gonna be 5 years in
yeah, that's
December,
right.
so I guess it's like 4.5 years. So right behind you. So I have been a member of this team the whole inception. While you've been here at HSNY, the company went through a major rebrand. Like you hinted on a little bit that there was some turmoil, some different things happening prior
Right.
to me and you both coming on board, and then we went through a major rebrand, which we're kind of still in the first 5 years of that. So can you speak to why we're going through a rebrand, and then how we landed on the name of Housing Solutions?
Yeah, so a couple of reasons. One, to that point, the organization itself has been around since 2001, so it's been around for a while, but 5, 6 years ago, there were some issues. So as part of a rebrand, the idea really was not only to move away from not giving up the history of what we did as an organization, but sort of how we are as an organization. And this also gave us an opportunity, becoming HSNY, gave us an opportunity to get really into the housing space and to really shed our skin, I guess, collectively, and to really put on another one. And to your point, branding does not happen overnight. Branding is not something that can, you flip a switch. The only time that happened, and it was really bad, was I'm dating myself, old Coke and new Coke. They tried to do that and it did not work. So we have been deliberate in terms of our branding going forward, starting, I think, 3 years plus ago, plus or minus, I should say. Not only with the name that we came up with, but even with the colors. And we were very deliberate. We brought in a consulting firm that not only in terms of looked at many different names that we all went through. Remember, we all went through together. We went through colors together. The reason why the colors look the way that they are, we literally tested them. So this was not a decision. Oh, let's just make sure that we can look good on TV. That was never the issue. It was really the purpose was rebranding not only the external but the internal too. And frankly, we wanted to make sure and let the our funders know that we were here to stay. And the fact that we came up with HSNY as a name, as something that this is who we're going to be calling ourselves, gave the opportunity. They're going to get the benefit of the experience that we had, but we're going to do it with a whole new going forward presence and a forward presence and an actual external presence that for thus far it has been really really good, and people have been recognizing it. I know when we first started, our funder would call us the old name, then the new name. They get confused, but I think we're at the point now that they all know us as HSNY, and it takes a while to get to that point, which is good. But and we also deliberately chose the name because we didn't want to limit ourselves, just for New York City. There's no C in HSNY. So it gives us the idea at some point if we're looking to expand and go out beyond the 5 boroughs of the city of New York, we can, and our name actually reflects all of that. So it's really thinking ahead a couple of years down the line as part of a broader strategic plan in terms of rebranding. But to your point, it does take a while, but we certainly now see the fruits of our labors, which is really, really good.
Yeah, it's been an amazing journey. Most recently we've been internally trying to find more colors to add to our color palette
Hmm.
because our branding and marketing has been so dynamic, especially in now seeing the blue awnings in community, right? We kind of pop and shine like when the sun shines. But the other caveat is like even in our logo, having that house and putting the heart in the middle. One thing that you've always stressed, at least in the last 2 years, even though we've been in a reband maybe three, is that we were going to start going into housing, right? We're gonna step away from, well, we're not gonna 100% step away from
Right.
temporary shelter or temporary housing, but we want to start being part of the solution and actually living up to our name. So last June, you know me, I stay away from that takeover word, but we was able to inherit a
Hmm.
wonderful portfolio of more than 200 scattered units and join with our partners in the supportive housing space. Now we're looking for land and property and other partners in that supportive housing space. So talk to me about your vision for that. Like, what is housing gonna look like? Because a lot of people are scared to be landlords,
Right.
right? So even though we're in the supportive housing space, you're also talking about affordable housing,
Mhm.
and then we'll be a landlord. So how do you talk to us? Like, how are we gonna get there?
And to your point, and thank you for that. To your point, the house was deliberate. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
we know that the only way to solve the unhoused situation, crisis, problem, whatever you want to call it, is housing. That's the only way. Shelter is a wonderful thing, and we do a really good job at it, making sure that people get the care and the need because of a situation that most anybody who's most anybody out there would not know what that is like. It's not only being traumatic, being homeless, but the process itself. And we know that. But in order to look to really make a true dent in the crisis and really look to solve getting into housing. Now we have multiple locations around the city. We are
Mm-hmm.
not yet a landlord. One of the things that I've been talking for a while about for a couple of years that we want to go into that space. Again, we were able to do supportive housing last year. Ultimately, the plan will be into affordable housing or permanent housing to become a landlord. And in terms of the opportunities and frankly our mission and our vision to end homelessness, which is really what it is, if we're not in that portion as well, I mean, we've covered the shelter side wonderfully. We do a great job of it, and when we had the situation when lots of folks were coming to New York City. Because lots of different states thought it politically was a smart thing to send their folks to New York City to make a point. How many sites did we open up in 45 days?
Now, five. We're gonna be five
So
shelters in 45 days.
Right, so we were able to do that, and that we can do really well. Frankly, we can do that wonderfully. What we want to get into, as Dr. Rivera said, is the housing piece of it, really
Yeah.
affordable or supportive. And the name was deliberate to get us to that point, knowing that it wasn't going to happen overnight, and it hasn't happened overnight. We're still doing it, but it's really housing is the solution, and that's how we really came up with our name. So housing really solves the problem, and that's the reason why we're doing what we're doing. It's a long process. We're not there yet, which makes a lot of sense because it does take some time, but we are leveraging what we know, and we're learning a lot. We've learned a lot in the last year, to your point, in inheriting the 260 plus units that we took over. We know what we need to do. We know what we have to do. We also know a way and a methodology to get us to the next level. And that's part of the rebranding effort. It's not just putting a name on stationery. It's actually being out there and talking and being the face of and in the community of this particular area. And that's what we've been doing slowly. But for the last couple of years, we are now known. We are now known in this space as well,
Yeah.
which is really part of the plan.
Yeah. So when people hear HSNY, what do you want them to remember that makes us different than other organizations?
Well, wraparound services that A, we care. B, we know that we can solve the problem. And C, we just have to get to the point where we put all the pieces together. Our program really is the cornerstone in terms of everything that we do. There are not many shelter providers that actually have a working large food pantry. And that serves, in the last year, we provided over 11,000 pantry bags to people around the city, not just to the
Yep.
folks in our program. We've got services involving youth in shelter, mental health, job training, job education. There's so many things that we're doing in terms of our programming that the idea was, it's great to have the shelter system, but if we're not going to provide, if we're not going to provide the mechanism for individuals to get to where we want to go, at the end of the day, our job here, and I've said this many times, and I'll continue to say, our job is for everybody here to be
Be
out of work.
unemployed.
We want to be
Right.
all, we want to be on the unemployment line, because if we're on
Find
the
a new
unemployment line,
career.
absolutely right. If we've done that, then we have done our job. And the only way to do that is through housing. And the services that support housing, literally, are the wraparound support that we're able to do. So the mission and the mindset was, let's provide the services. Let's treat the client as a person. Let's
Yeah.
treat the client as an individual, knowing that the assistance that they need is not just, okay, fine, just come here and check off a box. That does not
Right.
do it. Recidivism is what it is, but we want to make sure that when people come into our programs, be it shelter, supportive, or otherwise, we want to make sure that then when they leave, they don't come back, and that's our job to make that happen. Which is why housing is the solution, because if we're not involved in housing, not getting involved in housing, then all we're doing is we're just sort of balancing and juggling, and that's no fair to the individuals that we serve every single day.
So let's go back a little bit. So you said you went from private to nonprofit,
Yes.
and then you came in, and it sounded like an organization was going through, and they called you in to support. So what really drew you to this work? Because your passion oozes out just as much as mine does when people get you talking, right? But you're so busy behind the scenes fighting with other people to fight for. So what drew you to this work, and what keeps you driven and motivated in this work?
Well, two things that keep me driven and motivated. First, our staff. Our staff is really, really good. I mean, no one comes to work in a shelter provider in what we're doing because, okay, if I'm going to, after 3 years, I get to put my money away, I can buy my condo on the beach and get my boat, and that does not happen. So,
Never happens.
no. So anybody who's come on knows that they're here to do a good job, but they also get to do a good job. They're tired at the end of the day, but they get to do a good job. And from my perspective, getting somebody, making sure, facilitating, being involved in the process that gets a mom, a dad, the kids, whoever it happens to be, into a place they can call home, whether temporary or otherwise, is really tremendous. I mean, you get to do that, and you get to go home saying, listen, I helped change someone's life today. And by having them have a place to stay, and having them have a place to go home to at night. I've heard you say this many times too, that it's one thing that we can all meet, discuss, and go to work, but we have a place to go on the way
Yeah.
home. If you
Yeah.
don't have that, I mean, the safety net that we all take for granted, frankly, is not there. And it's if we're going home, we know at the end of the day, we know what we need to do. For the folks that we try to serve, it's not that easy, and we want to make sure that not only are we there for them, but we give them the support and support, and not only the support, but the guidance and the understanding, the case management to make sure that the trauma that they're going through is minimized and that they're able to do what we think they can do. And with the support of wraparound programs, we can get them to that point. So absolutely, I'm here really just to help, because I mean it's a great feeling to know that at the end of the day we're not selling widgets, we're not making ice cream, though I don't mind ice cream so
We're
much,
not a
but
factory.
we're not. But we're literally here. The only job that everybody has, whether you're in IT operations and finance, is to make sure somebody has a place to call home, and that's a pretty good job, and that's a pretty good way to make a living.
Absolutely. So let's shout out the HSNY team, all the way from the central office to those who are in all 35 of our buildings
Yeah,
throughout the city. So much shout out to you for continuously coming to work and being and driven and motivated.
absolutely,
I
absolutely.
frequently tell people that our CEO, while you may not see him physically because he seems stuck in his office most times, he fights battles that none of us want to fight. There's no argue. We don't want to argue with stakeholders about funding. We don't want to talk to lawyers. So shout out to you too, Seth, about how you support the team on the back end, because
I
none of that
appreciate
stuff
that.
we want to do.
Yeah.
So in your role as a CEO, what do you find to be the most challenging? And then what lessons have you learned since being at HSNY?
Well, I think the most challenging is making sure that the train
The
is on
lights stay on?
time.
No.
Yeah, lights stay on. Yeah, and sometimes it's easy. Sometimes it's not as easy. For anyone who works in nonprofit, understands nonprofit, or even aware of nonprofit, it's not the easiest road to really to go down. But it's making sure of that. So the folks that are working, at sites, the folks that are working on the as line staff, and dealing with our clients on a regular basis, should not and will not and will never know the issues that go on, because if they do, oh my goodness, why is this happening? That's not for them. I want to make sure the work gets done. So my day does spend a lot of time making sure that everything else, to the lights stay on, and that the train heads forward, and there's no issue in terms of what happens. So if I'm doing my job well, nobody in the organizations knows if I'm having a fight yesterday, today, or tomorrow, which does happen. No one's going to know about that, because if we're able to make sure that our budget is and our budget and our staffing is satisfied and our program needs are being met, then that's all that anyone needs to know in terms of what I'm looking to do. So, but in terms of it's to keep sometimes to keep the lights on. There are days I feel like you've got to. I don't know if you can see, but you got to put your hand up here, your feet up here, put put an antenna with some tinfoil here, turn around a little bit, go outside, and something like that. But it does. It's all worthwhile, because at the end of the day, we get to help people, and that's really why we're here.
Absolutely. So when you became the CEO, what surprised you the most? Or what continues maybe to surprise you ongoing?
So I think as I had I did go to school, though you can go to school, I guess, to be a CEO, but I had the opportunity in the portion of my career to work with at least 9 CEOs in different stages in their career, different things that they were doing, different types of businesses, different types of environments, and I get to learn from every single one of them, some what to do, what not to do, or a combination of that. But what surprises me in terms of being a CEO is how interrelated, how interdependent every single thing is. There is no isolation in anything that we do. There is no silo in anything that I do, because one thing that I do over here will impact at least down the line. So it's constantly doing 3-dimensional or 4-dimensional chess, because not only do we have to make sure that the pieces stay on the for the game, but we've got to be thinking forward 4 or 5 moves down the line. So it's really the putting that all together, and being in the chair or sitting here and having to really look what's going to happen with a decision that's made today, what's going to happen in 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, and how it's all interrelated. I know you have to sort of do the 3-dimensional chess, but how everything is interrelated, that to me was, I don't want to say so surprising so much, but that was like, my goodness, look at this. Because if you do this, X equals Y equals Z, and that's with everything. And there is absolutely, positively not one thing in this organization that stands by itself, not only in terms of staffing and the folks that have come on, but everything is interrelated. So one decision affects everything else that happens within the entire org.
So, I spend a lot of time talking to you. I spend a lot of time talking. I
Yes.
spend a lot of time. We meet regularly. And as you just described it, it sounds like a lot of things can also be a domino effect, and a lot of things can also happen at the same time. Like
Yes.
me and
Yeah.
you have literally done fires and floods,
Literally,
emergencies, literally
literally,
literal
literally.
fires, fires and floods, emergencies, and everything like that.
Right.
But how do you balance out your time? Like, how do you figure out, like, when you come to work Monday, Tuesday, how do you figure out what is more important? How do you prioritize? How do you get it together? Or you just wing it every day and have good
So
days?
it's if you don't come to work in something in my position without knowing what the plan is now, 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, and what the vision really is, it's difficult. You can, I guess, come in and do it ad hoc, but you're not going to make everything. So you're not going to get where you want to go. So I will say this: every decision, big or small, is related to other decisions and things that have to happen. So it's really mapping out what needs to occur. Like for example, the branding exercise that we did. I mean, it wasn't just an overnight thing, but to the point that we just discussed, branding is great and making sure we have a new name is great and the colors are fantastic and we're out there, we're showing. But the whole idea that housing solutions, housing is the solution, that was deliberate in terms of when we all came up with the name and what we're looking to do. So what we're doing now is we're executing the vision that we talked about in 2022, put into effect in 2023, and are still implementing here in
Yeah.
2026. So if you don't have a roadmap, sometimes, if you have good direction or good sense in the car without a GPS, you can probably get there. Maybe you go a different way. But for my purposes, when I get to the office every day, I turn on my GPS in terms of HSNY and follow
Okay.
that road. Now, to your point, there are some days that GPS doesn't work, that the GPS is taking you in a loop. And for those of you who've been in a car, we're taking a GPS that doesn't take you where you want to go. Oh my, you get a little bit nervous, but that will absolutely happen. But the most important thing is to get back onto the road and make sure that where you're ultimately going to, the destination where you're going, is where you want to be. And every decision, everything that I'm looking forward, that I'm looking to do, excuse me, is following the HSNY GPS and making sure we're getting to where we need to go. Sometimes it's a straighter line. Sometimes it's like traveling a curvy road up a mountain when there's snow and ice and rain. But it's making sure that we get there, and that's really the biggest part of the job.
Yeah, I usually call you Mr. Fixer Upper in our one-to-ones because you're always fixing something. You find something out in real time. You make it happen, and it sounds like even throughout the course of your career at the other company, you had to fix some things up too. But you're always level-headed and cool. So I think that's kind of the good thing about you because if you were panicking, I feel like all of us would
Yeah.
panic at the same time.
The one good thing is, even though it may not seem that way in the moment in time, um, uh, 99% of everything is fixable and doable. Sometimes there are
Yeah.
things you have no control over, but then that's an asteroid coming to the Earth, and hopefully we don't have to worry about that.
Oh
But
Lord.
if you're following the ultimate path, even though it may get filled with rocks and trees and other debris that's sort of blocking your path, if you know what you have to
Yeah.
do, it does get you there. And it's getting over that and getting over. And sometimes it's more than one, and sometimes it's more than one, and then there's another one that gets another one. But as long as
Right.
you're getting to where you want to be and where the agency should be, then really everything can actually work and everything can actually get done in a good amount of time, though not necessarily the time that you thought. But the other thing, in terms of to answer a question you asked before, the need to be agile, especially in the nonprofit world, is
Oh
very
yeah.
important because to the point that, things do happen, unplanned things, unforeseen things. Even though we do try to make sure that we foresee everything, sometimes sometimes things happen, whether it's our funder or something else, that you shake your head going, "Oh my, what just
Like
happened here?"
how? How do we plan
Yeah,
all of
and,
that and
and
it's
this doesn't make
gone that
this
fast?
exactly, and it doesn't make any sense. And so the first
Right.
thing to okay, triage, let's get through it and get to the point where we get around the difficulties, get around the distraction, get around whatever it happens to be, and get back on the road.
So before we get into a little bit of fun, can you talk a little bit about some systemic barriers you think impact nonprofits and/or our clients that if you had a magic wand or a genie or whatever, you would ask to break that systemic barrier?
So I think in terms of the organization, I think this is the easy one, but funding. Funding is there, funding is available. Our budgets are great in terms of what we need to do. It's
Yeah.
making sure that the budgets match up with the funding and making sure that funding comes when you need to happen. Because, if you're looking to make payments on not only just rent, but if you're looking to make repairs, if you're looking to do program services, and the cash isn't where it's expected to be, meaning the forecasting, that gets to be challenging. So if I had a magic wand, I would wave my magic wand, making sure that the forecast that we put together at the beginning of the fiscal year stays exactly the same for 365 days. That'd be a wonderful thing. That will never happen, but that'd be a wonderful thing. And in terms of clients, I just wish, I know that we've come a long way in terms of how people view and deal with the unhoused, but there's so many misconceptions, preconceptions, wrong thoughts, and that people still have about people who are unhoused. I mean,
Yes.
you and I see it, and you see it, in talking to some of our facilities and our sites that are out there. That the questions you get from folks about,
Oh
whether
yeah.
someone should be doing this or not doing this, it's still remarkable that the empathy. I know the empathy is there, but sometimes that empathy gets really, really clouded. And I just wish that, if you don't have a place to call home, everything else gets 14, 15, 20 times harder in terms of what you're doing. And if you're just going to be thinking one way, well, they're homeless, so that must mean it's just wrong. And if we
Yeah.
if we continue down that road, you will never ever get to a point where you understand. I mean, sympathy is great, but empathy, it goes a long way.
Agreed. A lot of times, when I talk to people, especially the ones who always don't want these people in their backyard,
Right.
they typically forget, like, yeah, you have a good life or whatever you want to
Mhm.
call it, or good finances, but,
Right.
we can't control Mother Nature, right? So if Mother
Right.
Nature happened to flood everything you own, right, you too can end up homeless. And so we have to, like you said, give out that level of empathy because we're all just one step
One step
away,
away.
right?
That's right.
Okay, let's do a little bit of fun. So a lot of people think that CEOs, y'all have this wonderful life, right? Y'all at the top, y'all look great in suits, y'all get to talk to all the important people, all this fun stuff, right? But can you walk me through, like, Seth after work or Seth on a Saturday? Like, what does that look like as well?
Well, I'll say so after work. So when I get home, it's about 20 minutes. I'm going to bed because I start kind of early.
Very early.
And
Don't say kind of early. Very early. You start very early in the morning with the
yeah,
with the
and
with the
that's
birds.
yeah, that's deliberate because from my perspective, I've always done this. You get a lot more done when no one is around than when people are
Very
around, and then
true.
you can start your
Very
day.
true.
But so when I get home, it's time. Okay, a little bit of dinner, 10 minutes of the news, watching TV, and then I go to bed for the next day. On the weekend, really more of a homebody. I'll go out to dinner with my wife. Spend time with my kids who are now grown. But spend as much time as I can. It's really home and doing small little things. In terms of going on yachts and trains and planes and automobiles and helicopters. That's wonderful. I don't have that life at all. It's coming home, having dinner, watching a little TV, going to bed, and on the weekends going out to dinner with my wife and spending some time and whatever, sometimes whatever she's looking to do, I'm happy to do it. And that's when we spend our time together. So it's really
Good.
very, very quiet and simple in terms of what we do, what I do. So there's nothing, I wouldn't call it glamorous, I wouldn't call it exciting, but I do call it absolutely fun for me. So it works.
Good. So, like, you're the boss at work. Do you get bossed around at home? Because I feel like that might be the balance.
Well, there's a balance there. So certainly, we tend to balance that. But the only thing I'll
Good.
say is happy wife, happy life. I'll just say that.
So it's okay. So we balance it out. That's a good thing. Okay.
Yes.
So what is your TV vice? Like, what shows get you, or can you binge watch at all?
Hmm. Yep. So Sopranos, West Wing, Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, and Downton Abbey. I could watch
Wow.
them over and over and over and over and over again. There's a lot more that are out there right now, but in terms of the four, my go-to, my comfort, I can settle in whether it's in Caldwell, New Jersey, or over in up in Yorkshire with the Downton Abbey folks. But it's really to be immersed in the lives of these other people, which are really good. I like really good writing, and the acting is really well. So I don't mind the frivolous and the fun stuff either. But in terms of being comfort, it's comfort food for me.
Oh, good. Mine is Law and Order, SVU.
Yeah.
And I don't want to shame, but I know that you've made some references to The Sopranos. I feel like when we've been on retreats, and I've never seen one Sopranos. So I feel like I'm gonna watch it before the next retreat in case you say something that
Yeah.
I
Okay.
know that that's the connection between the two. Okay, what's your favorite book, or what's the book that stands out to you that you would give leaders, anybody to read to be motivated?
So I've got a bunch of leadership books, but I haven't given this out, and maybe I'll think about it. But in terms of a leadership book, but it's not necessarily a leadership book. It's Doris Kearns Goodwin's Team of Rivals about Abraham Lincoln, where what he put together was basically lots of people who did not get along in order to bring the union together again, and he did a really good job. And the book is really, really good. That's the book that was based on the movie Lincoln was essentially based on that book. So if you ever saw the movie Lincoln with Daniel Day-Lewis, it's based upon her book. But that really, it's really seminal in terms of leadership from my perspective. Not that it's talking about how to be a leader, but it's how this one man who came in, his experiences brought to the White House, and how he was able to manage probably the most difficult time in U.S. history when we were fighting against each other, and he was able to bring people back. So for me, I recommend that book in something that's really, really good. Not just for a historical setting, but for understanding how people make decisions and how decisions impact everything else.
That sounds good. Sounds like you're about to give us that for the leadership training. But let's see, right? Because that sounds like the book you'll pick. All right. What's your favorite dessert? Last question. What's your favorite dessert on a personal level?
Oh, so if it has
Or
chocolate in it,
snack?
then
If it has chocolate.
if it has chocolate in it, I'm there. Doesn't matter.
That makes
I'm
sense. I always wonder why you only had chocolate on your desk. That makes
yeah.
total sense. The
It
way
gets more.
people come to your office just for chocolate is amazing. Like
That's perfectly
sometimes
fine. Yeah,
they act like you're not there and they say, "Excuse me," and just take the
that's
chocolate right off your desk.
That's perfectly fine. But I get from my perspective, again, more comfort. I mean, comfort food and being comfort and going to a place at home. Again, it ties into what we were just talking
What
about.
we do, yeah.
Yeah, to the feeling that you have, the feeling that you have, the feeling that the folks who work for us and everyone listening right now, that you're able to call home home.
Yeah.
We take for granted all the time, and I'm not looking to take that for granted, especially in the work that we do. So, having a comfort food, having a comfort binge on TV, having a comfort book, having a comfort piece of chocolate or something that I shouldn't be eating. Again, it is comfort, and it does help you in terms of how you feel, and it gets you through a very tough day sometimes, and it gets you to the next point. So, yeah, that's what I think anyway. But I will never say no to chocolate, even though
The chocolate.
um,
Your doctor might say
my
otherwise.
doctor would say
And
no, but
so
sometimes you
will
don't listen.
our director of food and nutrition. I'm pretty sure
That
she
yes,
would say the
she
same
would
thing.
absolutely say that, and she's 100% right. But I'm still gonna have it anyway. So yeah.
All right. So for some final thoughts, I want you to give final thoughts or reflections to one, the direct line staff. Like, what would you say to them if they came to you and they needed motivation? And then secondly, give final thoughts on leadership for people either emerging from site leadership to nonprofit management all the way up. Give final thoughts to those two persons.
So in terms of line staff, if they were to come and talk with them, the first thing I would say is thank you. And then the last thing I would say is thank you, because the work that they do every single day in relating with and talking with and managing and the clients, that's what we do. So anyone on the line staff, everything is just thank you very much for what you do. I know it's hard work, but it's good work and great work. And
Yeah.
you're tired when you go home. I've said that before, but it's a good tired. So just continue doing what you're doing. And at the end of the day, you have to be and you should be, because the work that you're doing literally changes somebody's life, and you may not see it, or you may not see it right then and there, but if you can help and assist, even if it's just talking to somebody for a moment, if you can help and assist them get to where they are right now, to some place where they need to be in terms of housing, that's absolutely fantastic. And in terms of emerging leaders coming within this organization, there are a lot of people, I'm happy to say, there are a lot of people that have come up through this organization starting at
Yeah.
maybe as an admin level, and they've made it up to case management, or even
Yep.
to a director of social services, even site directors. If you're passionate about what you do, make sure that you're doing the job that you're doing. The only thing that I would say, if you're an emerging leader, if you want to stay forward, stay focused, there's lots of drama that can happen, not only in our world, but in any organization and any sort of corporation situation, public or private. Avoid that. Stay focused on what you're doing. Stay true not only to the mission of this agency, but true to yourself. And I will tell you, if you're able to do that, come to work and do the job that you need to do. I will tell you now, you will be successful here and you can move forward. If you're deviating from that, then again, well, hey, how come you're going off the path? Stay true to yourself. Stay true to the organization, and I'm telling you, you will be successful no matter what.
Well, Seth, thank you so much for joining me today. Thank you so much for indulging in both the work questions and the personal questions. We
No,
got to
thank
know you
you.
a little better. Just want to let our listeners know, please like and subscribe to everything We're on every platform that you can think of. But the other thing is, I've tagged in Seth to help me. So he's going to do some of these podcasts too, right? So you see how I gave it back to him? He gave me the task back in August and I gave it back to him. And we're
That's
going
right,
to
you are.
partner. We're going to partner with some of these episodes. So you may see Seth, you may see me, but either way, you're going to see somebody from the HSNY team doing these podcasts. So again, thank you so much, Seth.
Thank
Thank you
you.
for everybody who's listening. Thank you, everybody. Have a great day. And remember, we are all just one step away.
Bye-bye.